I almost forgot one piece here. Why are we zooming here from Virginia Highlands, and why do we have this partnership? Part of it is that because of that Virginia Tech requirement, to be able to transfer these courses, you actually have to demonstrate that you have the knowledge in the field and or have a master's degree in that field. So I got my master's degree because I got the job at the community college. It kind of all started one winter. Everything always slowed down for us. We were still growing stuff in our hoop house, growing some greens that we would sell. But the farmer's market here was only once a week. Abingdon itself is kind of a tourist town, so the restaurants weren't buying as much. In fact, a lot of the restaurants shut down in the winter completely. So either way, we ended up being slow in the winter and not having nearly as much income. So I got a part-time job working at the greenhouse, and it just happened to be when my kind of mentor, my teacher of the horticulture program, when it started, he was leaving. He got a job in Oregon teaching at a different community college out there and doing, I think it was more like wine production. But nonetheless, he told me that he was leaving, and he's like, they're going to need somebody to run this greenhouse. They never had a greenhouse manager, which I'll kind of give a virtual tour of our greenhouse as well. Talk a little bit about greenhouse production. But they were letting us use some of the space for growing some crops. They never had a greenhouse manager before. And he was like, they're going to need somebody to run this. So I would send a letter to the dean and the vice president, talking about your interests and your experience. So I did that, and they gave me the job as the first greenhouse manager part-time, which also is kind of funny because you can't really run a greenhouse part-time. If any of you out there have worked in a greenhouse, you know this. That 29 hours a week is pretty much just enough to make sure that the crops are watered and get stuff growing. Anyway, I started in that position, and then they decided to rehire for a full-time horticulture instructor, and I was asked to be on the hiring committee. We actually had a guy, our final candidate, who had a PhD, and he was from, I think, Davis, West Virginia. And we were ready to hire him, but the dean didn't like him for some reason. And so they basically went back and decided to open it up to people with a bachelor's degree. And so I applied, got the job, and had to get a master's. So I went through Virginia Tech, got my master's in agriculture and life sciences with an emphasis in horticulture. And I think that would probably be a good segue to just talk about the difference here in horticulture and agriculture. And really, is there a difference? I'm inclined to say that there's not really that much of a difference. Agriculture we think of as being kind of the umbrella. And it's, the production of crops and, the interaction of crops and humans, basically. Horticulture we think of as being a subset of agriculture, kind of a more specialized plant-based field. And I think the big difference is that it is looking at more intensive production. So we think of agriculture as being more like field crops, and horticulture as being more like greenhouse crops. That's not necessarily always the truth, though. It might just be more value in that crop. So instead of growing a field of feed corn, we might think about growing a field of perennial crops, something like that. So really, I think horticulture is a part of agriculture, personally. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the book. So the book, anybody get the book yet? Oh, good. All right. So it's plant science, and we put the 5th edition. They actually came out with the 6th edition this year. I haven't got the 6th edition yet. I think you could probably use either one. We kind of base it off of the lectures that come out of the book, and each week will kind of be pretty much a chapter in the book. You know, if get the book if you can. If you don't have you know, the money to get the book, it is a fairly expensive book. Then I don't think it's a have to have. It will definitely help you to have the book, but you know, it's not 100% necessary. Don't tell the bookstore I said that. Actually, in all of my horticulture courses, we don't use books anymore because, one, they're so expensive, and two, there's not really one that covers everything. There can't be, right? So, and everybody has different aspirations, I think, in the field and different interests. And I think it's very important to try to cater to those interests. So that's what I want to do with this class. We're going to talk about plant science and technology in general. And you personally should be focusing on the specifics, the details, which crops. I think it's really important to try to specialize. I'm a huge advocate of what we call the liberal arts education, where you're well-rounded. You got some social science, you got the core stuff, you have your math, but it's also important to specialize, I think, when it gets into the world of agriculture and horticulture. You want to try to become the best in what it is that you do, whether that's producing, you know, a pasture-based poultry, or maybe you want to grow hemp for medicinal uses. You know, whatever it is, you need to figure out what your niche is, what your, you know, kind of role is in the greater system of agriculture. And again, agriculture, we have to place a very important emphasis on the culture aspect. I think that's something we tend to forget a lot. We think more about the production of crops and animals, and we don't think as much about the relationships with people. And the way I define horticulture is the art and science of the production, the cultivation of plants and their relationships with people. And I think really agriculture is the same. We might just add the animals in there too. Because we have to have people to buy the products, right? So it's very important for us to think about, you know, what can you be the best at in terms of agriculture and horticulture? You know, is it growing tomatoes? Is it finishing a hog on some forest land that ends up being the best bacon you ever had? That's your end of the bargain. And however much you put into it is going to be what you get out of it. All right, so I'm not going to go into the full syllabus thing today. We'll save that for Wednesday. But I did want to just point out a couple of things. So first, the Canvas site is now published. It should be showing up. Let me know if it isn't, and we'll try to make sure that any issues with that get taken care of. Everything will be delivered through Canvas. Tom will be putting up the recordings from the classes on Canvas, and actually, I guess he does that through YouTube, but the links are on Canvas. And we'll also have, I think, all the PowerPoint presentations you can download from Canvas as well. So we will kind of go use the book as the guide and kind of follow along with that. The book is kind of split into, I think, into really two main sections, and the first part kind of being more the general aspect, and the second part being more specific into crops. So if you have the book, you have an advantage in that you can go ahead and look in there and start going through thinking about what crops you want to kind of focus on. So a couple of things I want to show. I'm going to share my screen here and see if I can get to the Canvas site, just kind of sharing. All right. You guys see that?
Yep.
All right. So I think when you should start at the home page, and something that always goes wrong here, but we'll make sure that those are fixed. The bulk of the coursework, here is through the modules section, and in this module section, this will kind of be the format each week, and I'll have to make sure to see what it looks like for you guys. Right now, you probably would just see week 1, because for each week, the prereq is that you finish the module first. And I might even put up a little quiz for you guys for week 1 too. But basically for this week, it's read the syllabus, start working on this lab, and introduce yourself through the discussion board. If we look down here at week 2, this will kind of be more of what the kind of bulk of the course will be. And that will be you'll have our presentations, downloadable presentations, and then we'll have a quiz and a discussion board associated with each week. We'll be doing the labs, not necessarily every week. Usually you'll have a little bit more than 1 week to work on the lab.
Ben, technically, and I just double checked it, even though you have the prerequisites, they can still see your week 2, week 3, week 4 modules, but some of the links will not actually work for them, like the quizzes, but they might still be able to get to the PowerPoint slides and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's going to be visible to them. So I've sort of taken to not actually publishing the modules until the time comes. Sort of every Monday morning, I just start on the next week's worth.
Yeah, I think that's probably what we'll do. We'll keep it locked so that you guys don't see that until the next week.
Yeah, otherwise,
just to try to, yeah, and try to keep you guys on task too. That way, you're not too scattered there. So, thanks for sharing that with me. Yeah. For this week, I'm going to give you guys some points here on the discussion board. Just introduce yourself, and if you haven't used Canvas before, there's a student introduction to Canvas up here. It goes into a little bit of detail about what Canvas is all about. On the discussion board, though, hopefully it's showing up. Yeah, I already, basically just hit reply to the topic, and that will open up your window here. And then if you want to, please put up an image just so we can associate a face with the name. And you can either do that through this embed image. It's important that you click on the Canvas tab here, and then you just select a folder there and then hit upload file. I'll also say, though, that you don't necessarily have to go that route. You can also just copy and paste. I'm big into the keyboard shortcuts. So if you right click an image and click save as, and then take it over and just right click and hit paste or control, then that'll get it up there. So nonetheless, just want to share that with you guys real quick. If you have any issues with using any of this, feel free to get in contact. We'll work through it. But it's a graded discussion here, so we want you guys to go in there and read everybody else's post, just so you know everybody else in the class. Later on, there will be kind of a team assignment or group assignment. All right. So the other thing I want you guys to be thinking about right now, even though you've got a little bit of time to work on it, is this first lab. And if you guys need more time, I put September 4th as being the deadline on this. But if you need a little bit more time, then let me know next week when class starts, and we might adjust that. I don't want to appear to be a pushover here, but I know starting off, you probably get a lot of assignments. So I just want to explain this real quick, and I'll try to put up an example of this as well. And I'm working on getting a rubric for it. But basically, our first lab is for you guys to try to figure out, where does our food come from? So, take an apple, from a grocery store. Where did that actually come from? Did it actually come from, was it a locally grown apple? Probably not if you're in a supermarket. But first we want to look at going 3 different places. And one of those should be a large, chain grocery store, supermarket. Could be Walmart. One of those should be more of like either a local grocery store that probably has some local products, or a farmer's market. And then the third would be to look at a product from a restaurant, any kind of restaurant there. But the idea here is that, can we basically trace back to see where that product came from, where the produce was produced? And what I think you'll find is that it's not really as easy to figure out as you would expect. Sometimes it is. Sometimes at the Kroger, you'll see a sticker on there that identifies the farm that it came from. Other times, though, it might just be a barcode. It might just be a number on the produce. So we're trying to figure out where it was produced. And ideally, I think we'll find that, most of the larger grocery store chains are getting things from, other parts of the world. A local grocery store or farmer's market should have some actual local stuff. The restaurant, though, that's probably the most difficult. So look at at least these 3 different food purveyors, and then we're going to make a list of 20 food products. At least 5 of those should be some sort of processed product. That's going to be a little bit more complex. Minimum of 5, but that's probably what you want to do, is just that 5 minimum. And then try to select 5 that are a raw product too. So just the actual produce itself. So let's say you're looking at, say, a box of pasta, one of those like complete dehydrated meals. You try to identify what the main ingredient is, and then where did that main ingredient come from? Where was it grown? On the raw products, you have an apple or tomato. Where did it come from? That's what we're looking at there in the first lab. And you could really get in depth with this, but you don't have to. Really, I just want for us all to get this idea that typically our food comes from places where it is best produced, and then it's shipped around the country, shipped around the world. All right, so that should kind of get us started on our first week together. And we'll talk more about the syllabus in greater detail on Wednesday. Just want to pause here and just ask if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, gripes, or grievances. If you have any gripes or grievances, you'll have to file those with Tom.
Yes. I'll just pass them on to my wife. She's used to dealing with complaints. But which as you said, I'm going to have the classes recorded, and I've got 2 more classes right after this, so it's going to be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But I post the recordings the same day. So if you miss a class, your number one thing, instead of emailing us, what did I miss? Your number one thing is to go and watch the recordings. And also, I can't remember if I did. I think I put a link to join the Zoom class live. So if you end up sick or something like that in your home and you want to zoom in or whatever, you can click that link and join right in there. If I didn't put it in his Canvas thing, I will put it in his Canvas thing in the next day or two. That girl, Jessica, that was dialing in earlier is not a member of our class. And I don't know how she's calling. She's not on any of my classes, roles that I was sitting there looking through. So I might have to secure things a little bit better, but okay. And it just a little follow-up. Y'all will see when you're looking at the lab one assignment as far as figuring out where the food came from. He has a comment at the bottom. Answer as many of these questions as you can, especially like for the process stuff. You're going to find it kind of a challenge to figure out where did that wheat come from that they used to make the pasta. It's going to be. And then does that bother you? That's the thing to think about. Does it bother you that you don't know where this stuff is coming from? But anyway, and just I'll be here. I'll be in Keysville on Mondays. I'll be in Alberta on Wednesdays. And that's all I had to say. Hey Ben, are you calling from your house or is that your campus office?
Yeah, I'm from my home today. I'll probably kind of be bouncing around. So sometimes you'll see me in my office on campus, and sometimes you'll be seeing my home office. Both are huge messes. So don't judge me.
Yes, the other train wreck we have going on is Virginia Highlands, where he teaches. They don't start classes for another 2 weeks. Where we already started, and they're only doing Zooming from home or online only. They're not actually having any seated classes in the classroom at all. So thank you for stepping up 2 weeks early. We appreciate it. And of course, Ben's students are going to have to play a little bit of catch up when the time comes. So thank you for that. And let us know if you have any questions, comments, or anything, because we're here for y'all.
Yeah, and we'll try to be flexible too. So also I should ask, was the internet today okay from home? Is it fairly clear?
You just had a couple little hiccups, but not too bad at all. Probably not any worse than from campus.
Okay.
But well, actually, your campus connection should be good if the students aren't on. There's not many people using that pipe, so. But anyway, so
yeah. Final note from me is just be safe out there. I haven't been keeping up with what's going on in your all's area. I probably should do that though. They say that we are a COVID hotspot right now.
Really?
Yeah.
We've been fairly quiet, but I think 1 or 2 nursing homes or something near the last couple of days out in the South Hill area or whatever just got a spike. So I was thinking that like the end of last week kind of thing. So we might be in a week.
Yeah, I mean, it's out there. I think for us, the big thing was being on the interstate. You know, we have that corridor where we have, I mean, and being based on tourism, you know, everything's opening back up and people are coming and visiting. People are going to Pigeon Forge for vacation, coming back. So either way, I think we're going to get through this whole COVID crap and we'll be normal on the other side, or at least as normal as we can be, right?
Yes. Some of us more normal than others.
Either way, take care, be safe, and we'll see you all on Wednesday morning.
Okay, I'm stopping recording.